This is the Master Lock M175, and this is not the same as the Master Lock 175. This is a more secure model that has a heavier outer body, a boron shackle, and you'll notice there, you can see that, has the M175 designation at the bottom. And so there are videos that show how to bypass and pick the 175 model, but the M175 cannot be bypassed in the same manner. So what I'm going to do is just show you the standard pick mechanism for this. Pretty similar to any combination lock like this, but the trick is probably the tolerances. So let me zoom in here. Okay, so it's currently set on just all zeros here, and this is where the line is, but we have all nines at the very bottom of the lock. And there's one or two other videos that shows the internals of this, and the locking mechanism that pushes against these wheels and gets released with the correct combination, it's actually at the very top of this wheel, so directly opposite these nines. So for instance, if we're to do this, let's just start with 0 here, because this line is totally arbitrary. Really, the locking mechanism is exactly opposite this center line in the lock. One of the challenges with this lock is the tolerance between the wheels and the body of the lock. And if you use a standard lock pick, it generally will not go in there. You need something very thin. So I picked up a set of these feeler gauges from Pep Boys, just standard auto feeler gauges. And you'll want the ones that have the thinner set. So this one starts on 0.05 and happens to go up much higher to 0.02, 20 thou. But really you're looking for something in the with at least the 10 thou and slightly thinner if you want. But I was only able to get this to work with the 10 thou. I tried 12 and 13, but those were too thick. So with the 10 thou feeler gauge here, I took some snips, pretty standard metal snips or tin snips here, and I just cut the edge off of the snip. And if you have some other metal, maybe an aluminum can might work, but this is kind of rigid, it's kind of nice spring steel, so that's the benefit there. So I cut this edge off, and that's the piece that I'm going to use to go into the dials. And so I insert it directly at the 0 in the center line, and here, let's just choose a different number. And at the point that it stops, you're going to hit the, and you want to do this on the right side of the number, and it's going to stop. And when it stops, you're going to put a little Sharpie mark if you want. That was just the easiest way to do it for me, so I didn't have to pay too close attention. And what you're going to do, I'm going to start at 0, is you'll push it in, and you'll see how far it goes in. And you're going to keep turning the cylinder, and you're going to try it with each one. And you're going to see, you're going to try to find the one where it goes down a little bit further than that black line. And it'll be pretty noticeable. It stops very quickly on most of these numbers. But in this case, this first dial happens to be 0. So when I push it in at 0, it goes in about twice as deep. And so I know 0 is my first number. And so let's try this here. And very shallow. And very shallow. You can go pretty quick. Oops. And there we go. So it really sinks in on number 9. And let's just reset to 0 so I know where I started. Shallow, shallow, pretty shallow. Come on. Where is it? Missed it. Okay, there it is. It's number 4. It skipped past because if you go in an angle, you actually end up rotating the dial. So you want to try and go to straight down vertically. So there's number 4. And then, let me go back to 0 here. Nothing. 1. Basically, we're looking for the notch in the wheel, on the inner wheel there. And it's always on the right side on this model. Come on. And I think we're there, 5. So number 5. Double check that. Yep, 5 is nice and deep. So there we go. So we know the notches are at 5490. And this is a friend's lock. He forgot the combination, and so he was trying to figure this out without destroying the lock. So now the notches are on this side of the wheel, and we know the locking mechanism releases on the exact opposite of that wheel. So if the notch is here, we basically need to rotate all of these 180 degrees so that these notches are on the other side so that the locking mechanism can slide into those notches. We found the notches at 5490, so when we use a simple substitution to go across the wheel, anytime we see 0 through 4, we're going to substitute 5 through 9, just to get 180 degrees around. So in this case, we have a 5, so we're going to move that all the way to 0. And number 4, we're going to move that to 9. And then we have a 9, so we're going to move that to 4, just swapping those. And then we have another 0, and we're going to go to 5. So here it says 0945. Up here is the combination line, is what it looks like, 1056, but really that's arbitrary line. We really care about where the notches are and how that will release. So let's see if we got that right. And there we go. So basically you just need a thin shim. You can find where the notches are in the wheel, and from there you just flip the wheels 180 degrees and you can unlock it.